Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Sir, is it audible, sir? It's clear?
Yes. Okay. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. It's clear. So, Jana, sir, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Okay.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir. It's audible.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Jana Saab. Good morning, Sharma Saab.
Can we start?
Yes, please.
Yes, let us start.
Distinguished speakers, participants, and colleagues from INCOIS, NDMA, OSDMA, and participants from other agencies. A very good morning and warm welcome to the webinar on Tsunami Awareness and Preparedness, jointly organized by INCOIS, NDMA, and OSDMA on the occasion of World Tsunami Awareness Day. Tsunamis are rare events, but they are deadliest and costliest hazards when they do happen. They are trans-border hazards, and the communities, especially living in the low-lying coastal regions across the globe, are most vulnerable to the tsunamis. Large tsunamis occur with relatively low frequency, but have potentially high impact, as demonstrated by the tsunami in the Indian Ocean in 2004. The Indian Tsunami Early Warning Center, set up at INCOIS in the aftermath of 2004 tsunami, has been providing services flawlessly since 2007. Though tsunamis are most often caused by major earthquakes, 2018 Palu and Sunda Strait tsunamis are examples of atypical tsunamis triggered by landslides and volcanic eruptions and generated near-field tsunamis, causing damage and loss of lives. These tsunamis showed that significant changes remain in spite of the advanced tsunami early warning systems are in place. The lessons learned from these events reiterate the importance of tsunami awareness and preparedness, and also the need for society-based or people-centric tsunami early warning systems to enhance the capabilities and the resilience of the communities to protect themselves. In December 2015, the United Nations General Assembly designated 5th November as the World Tsunami Awareness Day to promote global culture of tsunami awareness. In 2020, this year, World Tsunami Awareness Day encourages the development of national and community level local disaster risk reduction strategies to save more lives against disasters. Since 2016, we are observing the World Tsunami Awareness Day in India by organizing various activities to raise awareness and preparedness on tsunamis. Due to COVID-19 pandemic situation this year, we are restricting our activities to a webinar to commemorate the World Tsunami Awareness Day. And today we have with us three distinguished speakers, Sri GVV Sharma Saab, Member Secretary, NDMA, and Sri Pradeep Kumar Janaji, Managing Director, OSDMA, and Additional Chief Secretary, Government of Odisha, and Dr. T. Srinivas Kumar, Director, INCOIS, to deliver talks on this special occasion. This session is streaming live on YouTube channel. We will have a brief question and answer session after all the talks by eminent speakers. I request the attendees to type questions in the chat box next to the video window, and they will be answered at the end of the session by the speakers. So without wasting time, now we will start the session. Let me first introduce the first speaker, Dr. T. Srinivas Kumar, Director, INCOIS. Dr. T. Srinivas Kumar holds PhD in Marine Sciences. Working at INCOIS Ministry of Earth Sciences since 2004, he was responsible for implementing several important projects, including potential fishing zone advisories, multi-hazard vulnerability mapping, coral reef bleaching alert system, SATCO, etc. Post 2004 tsunami, he coordinated the successful establishment of Indian Tsunami Early Warning Center at INCOIS. And between October 2016 to August 2020, he worked with the UNESCO IOC as the head of the Indian Ocean Tsunami Warning and Mitigation System Secretariat in Perth. During this time, he was instrumental in strengthening the regional tsunami early warning system in active collaboration with 28 member states global harmonization of tsunami watch operations, and implementation of the Tsunami Ready Community Recognition Program. He recently took charge as Director of INCOIS on 31st August 2020. May I now invite Dr. T. Srinivas Kumar, Director INCOIS, to deliver a talk on tsunami early warning mechanism in the context of World Tsunami Awareness Day. Thank you, Dr. Srinivas Kumar.
Thank you very much, Pattabi, for that introduction. I will start with the presentation with a few remarks. Allow me to invite Shri GVV Sharma Saab, who is the Member Secretary of the National Disaster Management Authority, Shri PK Jana Saab, who is the Managing Director of OSDMA and Additional Chief Secretary of Odisha, other colleagues from NDMA, OSDMA, colleagues from INCOIS, and all those participants who have from various organizations and from the public who have joined this webinar through virtual means. A very good morning to all of you. We are meeting today through this virtual means to commemorate the World Tsunami Awareness Day. The theme for this year's WTAD is Target E of the Sendai 7 campaign, which encourages countries and communities to have national and local DRR strategies. Now, why is World Tsunami Awareness Day important? Pattabi mentioned it already. The warning systems, technical warning systems that we have can certainly reduce or mitigate the impact of tsunamis. But then many a times the difference between life and death during such events is our simple awareness of our hazard, and then what we should do if that hazard indeed strikes, and then how we need to respond. So that simple awareness we know there are stories that save in a lot of valuable lives. We hear stories from 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami, where this school child in a Thai beach actually knew the natural signs of receding of water, that it could cause a tsunami, and then save numerous lives in the beaches. So that's why WTAD, events like WTAD are very important, the World Tsunami Awareness Day. In fact, historically, there is a story, I mean, this was promoted initially by Japan. The story was called Inamura no Hi, which means burning of rice sheaves. During the Nankai earthquake of 1854, a farmer in Japan, he saw the tide receding, and he identified it as a threat of looming tsunami. So what he did to alert his villagers to actually get out of harm's way, out of tsunami waves, was to actually set his rice harvest, rice sheaves on fire. So his valuable rice sheaves, he set it on fire. And then this actually alerted the villagers, and then to evacuate the village and go to high ground. And after this event, so this saved a lot of lives. And then in the aftermath, he helped the community to build back better, to withstand such future events by constructing an embankment of his village, planting trees such as tsunami to act as tsunami buffers, etc. So this is the background that we celebrate today, what we call as the Tsunami Awareness Day. I will try to share my presentation with you. I have a brief presentation. So what I will be talking in this presentation is basically how, as a warning center, we actually can mitigate the impact of tsunamis. I hope my presentation has come up there. So this is this center, which is at INCOIS, which acts as a national tsunami early warning center for India, was set up after the December 26, 2004 tsunami. Now we all know this tsunami. This is about 9.3, resulted from a 9.3 magnitude earthquake, and then it was the second strongest earthquake that was ever recorded in human history. And it caused enormous number of deaths, 230,000 deaths all along the Indian Ocean region, about 16,000 deaths in India as well. So at that time, why there were so many number of deaths, why it became most deadly, was because none of the countries, a lot of countries in the Indian Ocean did not recognize even the word tsunami. We would have read in our textbooks, but then this was something we didn't relate to because we never thought it could happen in the Indian Ocean region, let alone India. So there was no warning system, and then people could not identify the early warning signs of a tsunami, water receded everywhere, but then people didn't know why it receded, and then they should react. So this was the cause of the tsunami, and those days this was the situation. Now we all know, I'll not spend too much time on what is tsunami, all of you know, but it is, I would like to just, the term itself means harbor wave, and it's a gravity wave. And the cause of tsunamis are mostly, it is caused due to large submarine earthquakes. There are other reasons, but there are minor reasons like Patabi mentioned before, atypical tsunamis, which can be caused due to landslides. You could have volcanic eruptions, which could cause a flank collapse and then trigger a tsunami, or there could be meteoric impacts on the surface of the water. So anything theoretically that can displace water column in the ocean or in big lakes, actually, tsunamis have been observed. So these can trigger tsunamis, these large waves that can come offshore from offshore areas and then inundate coastal areas, cause deaths. So these are very different than our normal day-to-day beach waves that we see actually when we go to our beach, because tsunami waves can travel very fast. They travel at jet speeds, about 800 kilometers an hour in the deep ocean. But then when they come to the coastal areas, they reduce in speed, but then they increase in height. In the deep ocean, the height of a tsunami wave could be only in the range of about 40 to 50 centimeters. Very, you can't notice it if you're in a ship or a fishing vessel in the deep ocean. You can't even notice that a tsunami has passed underneath you. But then when it comes to the coast, it increases to tens of meters in height, 30 meters, 40 meters, depending upon the topography and depending upon the geomorphology of the coastal area. It increases in height and then falls onto the beach. So this is the difference between a normal wind wave that you see, which are high frequency waves, and then as against the tsunami waves. Now, coming to the tsunamis in the Indian Ocean. So there are two subduction zones in the Indian Ocean region that can trigger tsunamis. Like I said, about 85% of the tsunamis are caused due to large earthquakes. Now, these large earthquakes are focused in the subduction zones. So one subduction zone that you see here on the right in the panel is actually called the Sunda subduction zone, which cuts across Andaman Nicobar Islands of the Indonesian archipelago and then north of Australia. So this is the subduction zone in red. This is where the 2004 tsunami triggered from this subduction zone. And then there is another subduction zone, which is almost a forgotten kind of subduction zone, which is called the Makran subduction zone, which is in the north of the Arabian Sea. Now, this also can trigger large tsunamis. The last tsunami from there was in 1945, which was reported to have killed several people in the coasts of Iran, Pakistan, and the tsunami was known to have impacted even western coasts of India and then in Oman. So that is a subduction zone we need to be aware of. These two subduction zones can cause large earthquakes that can trigger tsunamis for India. Now, when we talk about a warning system, we need to really know what is that we are talking about. How much of warning time can we give to the population? If you take, for example, say a cyclone, we can monitor a cyclone when it is actually forming in the deep oceans, and then when it is intensifying, and then before it is landfalling, and then creating havoc. So the time could be several days, but in the case of tsunami, the time actually varies from a few minutes to a few hours at the most. So this is something we need to aware of. So we need to be aware of. For example, if an earthquake is happening in the Andaman Sumatra subduction zone on the right side panel that you see here, the warning time that we have is actually only about 20-30 minutes. So within about 20 to 30 minutes after the earthquake, the tsunami can reach to the shore. In Andaman Nicobar Islands, but whereas to the Indian mainland, there could be time of about 2 to 3 hours because it has to travel across the Bay of Bengal and then come to the mainland India. So it could be 2 hours to 3 hours. Similarly, in the Makran subduction zone, if something is happening in Makran, it could take about 2 hours to hit the northernmost coastline of India, like for example, Gujarat. It would take about 2 hours to come to Gujarat coast. So those are the timelines we are talking about. So we need to be aware of when we talk about a warning. So this is the warning time we have. We don't have days, we don't have weeks. It's actually few minutes to few hours. So the warning system that we are talking about here that has been established at INCOIS it actually tries to take this fact into account that after an earthquake happens, there is about 20 minutes if you are, at the most in near source regions, or about a few hours for far source regions. So within this time, you need to detect that an earthquake has happened, because we can't predict earthquakes. We can only detect as soon as an earthquake happens that it has happened. Then within that time, within few minutes, about 5 to 10 minutes, you need to be able to tell people whether that particular earthquake would generate a tsunami. And then if that tsunami hits the coastline, how much time it would take to reach your coastline, and how much of wave height is expected. So this is the basis of tsunami warning system. So what we have at INCOIS is actually in India is a dense network of seismic stations which can tell us within a few minutes that an earthquake has happened. So currently we can do it with the dense network that we have. We can do it in 5 to 6 minutes. We can say that, okay, an earthquake has happened, we can detect it. Now, once that is done, we need to really check the sea level changes, because all earthquakes do not trigger tsunamis. To be able to trigger a tsunami, an earthquake has to be kind of a normal fault or a thrust fault, which means that it can cause a vertical displacement of the seafloor. Now, all earthquakes are not that kind. There are some earthquakes that can cause a horizontal movement of the ocean bottom. So such earthquakes don't trigger tsunamis. So what we need to do is to actually know that an earthquake has triggered a tsunami, we need to get water level data from the deep ocean, which can be measured by buoys called tsunami buoys. They're in the deep ocean. And then, of course, we also have sea level sensors at the coastal locations, which are called tide gauges. So these are the water level sensors we have. These you see here, BPR network, bottom pressure recorder network, and tide gauge network. So these are the three major sensor networks that we have that report to the warning center. And these sensors are installed by several national agencies, like we have India Meteorological Department, which installed the seismic stations, the National Institute of Ocean Technology, and INCOIS deploy the bottom pressure recorders, which are the tsunami buoys. INCOIS deploys tide gauges, Survey of India deploys tide gauges, and then there are several other agencies like NRSC, National Center for Coastal Research, ministries, other body. And of course, these are all the agencies which are involved in the upstream part. Now, coming to the downstream part, very important partners are the agencies like the National Disaster Management Authority. Sharma Saab will make his presentation on the policies, etc. And then the Ministry of Home Affairs, which is the operational agency to whom we send the warnings. And then coastal states agencies like the OSDMA and other agencies. So they do the downstream once they receive the warning, what to do with the warning, how the people should be evacuated from the beaches, etc. And so these are the two ends of the warning chain. In the middle, what we have is actually a lot of process that is done at the warning center, because the data has to come in real time. You need a lot of communication equipment, real time. Then you need to disseminate information. You also need to do a lot of modeling. That is, for a particular size of an earthquake, how much of tsunami it can generate. So all this process is done at the warning center. So these are the basic components of the warning center. So I've talked a bit about this. So this is just to show you pictures of the locations of the seismic stations. These red stars are the seismic stations that are installed by the India Meteorological Department. In addition to these, we also receive data from hundreds of other national and international stations, seismic stations. These are broadband seismometers. Report to INCOIS that will enable us to detect an earthquake in 5 to 10 minutes. And then these are the pictures of tsunami buoys that you see here. This is a surface buoy. It also has a bottom pressure sensor that is sitting at the ocean bottom, which is a very precision kind of sensor which can detect changes of few millimeters over a water column of 4 to 5 kilometers. So this sensor detects this change in sea level due to which is actually a pressure change, and then transmits the data to a surface buoy, which in turn transmits it through a satellite and then received at INCOIS. So those are the tsunami buoys. And then we also have tide gauges, which are actually installed in the coastal harbors. Now, this is actually the tsunami modeling. So how we do modeling is basically we have numerical models which take earthquake information, the displacement as the input, and then can tell us, okay, this will be the time of arrival of a tsunami, say for example in Chennai in Port Blair, and then this will be the wave height. So those estimations are done by running these tsunami models. And how do we translate that information into coastal warnings that the public can react is basically by using that information and then saying that, okay, at this district, we have divided the entire coastline into districts. And at that district, at each district level, we can tell that, okay, this could be the wave height and this could be the arrival time. Now, based on that information, actions can be taken by the disaster management, both central, state, disaster management agencies and the district agencies and the public. So these are the coastal forecast zones that I just talked about. So you'll have the name of the district, name of the state, initial wave arrival in the Indian Standard Time, maximum wave height in meters, and then the status. We actually categorize these warnings into different levels, and each level requires a different action. And then we also have a agreed tsunami warning chain, which means that once the information is generated at INCOIS, how is that information passed down through different agencies to the public? So we have guidelines which are being prescribed by the National Disaster Management Authority, along with the detailed tsunami warning chain on how this information is to be routed to the public, through the media, to the national state disaster management agencies, etc. And then we have different modes of communication to get this information out. So this is something which I will talk about for briefly, that is different levels of alerts and then how people should react to it. So we have three different color codes which say that, okay, red means it's warning, which means that water level expected at the beach is going to be more than 2 meters, and then the wave is going to come there within 60 minutes. So those kind of areas, we put them under warning. That means there is immediate public evacuation required. The next category is orange, which means that the tsunami wave is going to be between 0.5 to 2 meters coming in 60 minutes, or the warning time is the time of arrival is more than 60 minutes. So such areas we put under alert, and then we observe the water level data. And then if we know that a tsunami has indeed generated and then it is on the way, then we can upgrade the alert orange to red. That means people should evacuate. And then we also have something called watch, which means that the water level is less than 0.5 meter is expected, and then there is no immediate action required. Now, between an alert and warning also, we have two different categories of action. Warning means people should evacuate all low-lying areas and move to high ground, whereas alert means we need to actually evacuate people from the beaches. That means we are actually on a heads up. And then if it is upgraded to red, then evacuation, full evacuation. But if it is downgraded, then people can go back to their normal activities. So this is how we have actually designed an SOP. This is very unique, and then this is something that has been designed to take into consideration that Andaman Nicobar is very close to the earthquake epicenter, which means that for Andaman Nicobar Islands, we may not have enough time to confirm occurrence of a tsunami from the water level gauges. Just based on an earthquake, we might have to give a warning. So such places, we need to put a warning out. We need to evacuate people as soon as we know that a big earthquake has happened, if our models show that it could trigger a tsunami. Whereas for the Indian mainland, we can wait until we get data, confirmed tsunami generation data from our sea level sensors, and then only evacuate people. The point here is we don't want to cause unnecessary evacuations. India is such a populous country. If we actually give a warning and then people evacuate and then bringing them back, so so we want to take the maximum amount of time available within these 2 hours to actually make sure that our warnings are to the maximum extent accurate based on the water level data that we receive. So this is the basis of this. This has been agreed again, and then it is part of the guidelines and the SOPs that we have with the disaster management agencies. This is again, there are lots of methods, dissemination methods that we use to send out this information, from a very standard fax to actually emails, SMS, web, and then of course we also send it to the GTS. I'll come to that a bit later. And these are the kind of products that you see. We have text products, we have maps, so that it's very easy to understand. At district level, red means, okay, you need to take action. Then you have directivity maps, you have travel time maps. So several products which make it very easy to understand the warning. Because these warnings have to be very simple. As I said, time is very less. So these have to be very simple, actionable kind of messages that somebody is getting, either at the disaster management office or at the public level. They should just know that, okay, red means, okay, this location they need to evacuate. So those kind of messaging we have developed for this warning center. And of course, I'll not get into the details. So it's not only, so I said that tsunamis are rare, infrequent, but it doesn't mean that earthquakes don't happen. Like, for example, in the last 13 years since we existed, since we set up, of course, we have been improving systems since then. So there were about 100 Indian Ocean earthquakes, which were more than 6.5. So 6.5 is the minimum threshold that an earthquake should have to theoretically be able to generate a tsunami. Like small earthquakes, less than that, there is no reason to worry. There is very minimal chances that they could trigger tsunamis. So we have detected about 100 earthquakes, and then we have actually this within the Indian Ocean, about 530 earthquakes all over the globe, because we also do the global monitoring. And then we have actually, as far as tsunami warnings are concerned, it is just about 13 to 14 times that a tsunami warning has been generated. Now it's equally important to tell that an earthquake has happened, you don't need to evacuate. That information is equal to also, giving a tsunami warning and people evacuating, because no threat means that you don't need to evacuate. There is an earthquake, but you don't need to evacuate. That information is also very, important to provide. So these are the number of instances during which we had to really detect earthquakes and act on them. And we also do a lot of work, though we are involved with the technical component, upstream component, sensors, technology, modeling, communication, etc. We also understand the importance of tsunami preparedness and response. So to enable that, we actually do a lot of communications tests, because you want this communication. There might be a fax machine, there might be a phone line, but it has to be working 24/7. At the time of an event, if it doesn't work, then there is no way that you could get this information across. So every once in 6 months, we do a communications test. We also do workshops to help disaster management agencies build their standard operational procedures if they receive information from INCOIS, and if they have a 24/7 operation, how they need to handle that information, where it goes down. So that those kind of SOP workshops, we do tabletop exercises, and in association with NDMA, we do tsunami drills. In fact, the last drill we did was just few weeks back in October. So 3 days we conducted a drill in association with NDMA and with the coastal states. We didn't do a public evacuation because of COVID, but then we do such drills, and they help them understand where we need to improve timelines, etc. And we do a lot of course, capacity building workshops, etc. I'll not get into the details, and then mock exercises. Now, this is actually one slide where I would like to, emphasize how mock exercise help all of us, including the public. We can really assess how efficient our warning dissemination mechanism has been, whether the public were able to understand our messaging, whether they're able to receive it, etc. So if you see here, for example, in IOWAVE 18, when we did this quantification, we knew that after an earthquake tsunami bulletin was issued, by the time it reached the public through these channels and by the time they evacuated, it was actually different for different districts and states. So we know that, okay, for some cases it took just 5 minutes, in some cases it took about 10 minutes, 12 minutes. So once we know this, then we can actually address where this delay happened and then how we can improve at different levels. So that's why it is important. And Jana Saab, I know he will surely talk about this Tsunami Ready program, so I'll not talk about it. This is something from the IOC, UNESCO has prescribed something called Tsunami Ready Community Recognition Program. What it does is basically it put communities at the center of the entire warning system. So far, after the tsunami happened in 2004, what occupied the central space was the tsunami warning, the technology itself, because that was being developed. And then now it has come to a stage where communities now need to be put in the center of this technical entire warning system. And that is what the Tsunami Ready program does. So, for example, if you want to assess how a tsunami warning system is working at the technical level, you can always assess, okay, an earthquake has happened, you have issued a warning in 3 minutes, which is good. Or if you issued in 10 minutes, it's not as good. Whereas for community awareness and preparedness, there is no structured way to really measure the preparedness of people. Now, the Tsunami Ready program gives about 11 indicators in which you can help communities achieve that preparedness, awareness, and then you can measure it very meticulously, whether they are being able to maintain the preparedness levels. So OSDMA has achieved Tsunami Ready recognition in 2 villages in Odisha. So I will leave it to Jana Saab to talk about it. And this is my last slide, a couple of slides. I will end my talk. India also plays a role. INCOIS, the Ministry of Earth Sciences, plays a big role as the tsunami service provider for the entire Indian Ocean region, not only for India. Our capabilities have been recognized by the Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission of the UNESCO, and they've identified INCOIS also as an agency to provide warnings to about 25 Indian Ocean rim countries. And then we have been doing that since 2011. And then our performance is assessed based on standard indicators. All the upstream part of the indicators are assessed, and then we do a very good job in providing warnings to all the Indian Ocean rim countries. So this is my last slide. So starting in 2004, after the tsunami happened, so we established the warning system thanks to MOES and all the institutes, other institutes involved. We have been working with the disaster management agencies on the downstream part. And of course, it's not that this is the end of the story for the warning system itself. The technical components of the warning system need to be enhanced continuously. Like what happened in Palu and Sunda Strait, a tsunami happened, and then it actually came ashore in 3 minutes. Now, how could actually a warning system deliver a warning in 3 minutes? Because earthquake itself, to identify an earthquake, is going to take you 3 minutes, 4 minutes. So people should be really aware of the natural warning signs of a tsunami. It's not that you know the strengths of a warning system. It's very important as managers and the public to also know what are the limitations of warning systems, and then still know how to save ourselves from such atypical events. Like the warning system now, it has been built to identify tsunamis from earthquakes. Now there are also other tsunamis caused by landslides, submarine landslides, and volcanoes. How do we enhance our warning systems to detect such kind of events? What new technologies are needed? So all those things are something INCOIS is continuously working on. We are installing about 35 GNSS net stations in the Andaman Nicobar Islands so that we'll be able to directly measure the displacement in real time due to an earthquake. So those are some enhancements we are doing. So there's a lot of technology enhancements that is going on, how to reduce the timeline of warning still from 10 minutes. Right now we take to issue a tsunami warning. Can we bring it down to 6 minutes? Because the tsunami warning always, it's a race between time and accuracy. The longer you wait, the more accurate your warning becomes. But then at the end, you have this, you don't have as much time. So it's always this balance that we need to keep. And then so we are trying to use technologies, sensors, etc., to reduce these uncertainties. So in the next 5 to 10 years, that is something we are going to work on with all institutes within the country, and then with the global community as part of the IOC, UNESCO, UNDK, etc. And of course, our working with the disaster management agencies will continue to enhance the capabilities and awareness and preparedness of the coastal communities. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Srinivas, for the brief account on tsunami early warning mechanism and the advances now that we are planning to do in the future. And also you have highlighted the importance of the linking the upstream part and the downstream part. And I hope in the second talk we are going to listen more on the downstream part on preparedness and awareness activities from the Janasa. So before going to the second talk, I'm glad to inform you that we have more than 170 participants joined this live streaming on YouTube. And I request the participants, if they have any questions, they can type it on the chat box, and at the end of the 3 talks, we'll have question and answer sessions, and speakers will answer to the questions. So now we are moving forward to the second talk by Sri Pradeep Kumar Janaji. Let me introduce Sri Pradeep Kumar Janaji is additional Chief Secretary to Government of Odisha and Managing Director of the Odisha State Disaster Management Authority, OSDMA, joined Indian Administrative Services in 1988. As the Managing Director of OSDMA, he is looking after overall aspects of the disaster management like prevention, mitigation, preparedness, and operational. And he's also operational head of the Odisha Disaster Rapid Action Force, a fully equipped, trained team specialized in search and rescue operations. It is his proactive support with which we were able to achieve the Tsunami Ready recognition for 2 villages in Odisha, making Odisha as the first state in India and India as the first country in the Indian Ocean Rim countries to achieve this recognition. Thank you for all your efforts, sir. Now I invite you to talk on implementation of Tsunami Ready in Odisha. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Patavi, for giving us the opportunity to co-host this event along with INCOIS and NDMA. On behalf of OSDMA, I thank INCOIS and NDMA for this opportunity. Respected members, Secretary NDMA, GBV Sharma sir is also in this webinar. He is also going to. He a lot of initiatives while working in OSDMA in the field of disaster response and mitigation. Coming to this Tsunami Ready program, let me tell you, this program is so important for us, so important for all the coastal states in India, simply for the reason that the tsunami and earthquake as disasters are quite different from the other disasters like cyclone and flood. As Dr. Srinivas has pointed out, in floods and in case of floods and cyclones, we get adequate time to understand the formation of a cyclone or those events communities to face those disasters. Whereas in case of tsunami and earthquake, as Dr. Srinivas has pointed out, not much of prediction technology available. So therefore, unless the event occurs, unless the earthquake or a submarine landslide occurs, or a volcano submarine volcano eruption occurs, it is very difficult to predict its impact in the form of generation of tsunami waves. So prediction is difficult there, and then the moment it is detected, it takes some time for scientific organizations like INCOIS to model it and to issue the tsunami advisories or warnings. And the moment you get warnings, between the warning and the time the event finally occurs, the disaster strikes us, again there is not much of time for preparing and for responding, particularly responding the response forces of the governments, for them to reach out to those affected or probable affected areas, there is not much of time available to us. So therefore, it is very important that the communities understand the early signatures of tsunamis, understand the messages or the warning that are disseminated by INCOIS and organizations like INCOIS through the state governments. Because sometimes we may issue warning in the form of television bulletins, all India radio bulletins, or blowing the sirens, or sending SMS. But then it is the time of the day that if the event happens somewhere in the night, possibly all our warnings may not work even. So one is difficult in prediction. Then once the event is detected, the time that we take to communicate, and the moment we communicate the warning, where the communities respond to those warnings will decide how we face this disaster. what we are trying to do through this Tsunami Ready program is basically working with the communities to make them understand about the signature of tsunamis and then preparing them for tsunamis. Now, I have a presentation. I would like the presentation to start, and then please. Next slide. Okay. Odisha has a coastline of about 480 kilometers, and we have about 325 villages in 6 coastal districts, which are very tsunami prone. And we also have 3 urban bodies within those coastal areas. Around 30 lakh people, it is not 3 lakh. Around 30 lakh, 3 million people are living in the tsunami prone areas. And in these 322 villages and 325 villages and 6 urban local bodies, we also have 5 major tourist locations, including Puri, Chilka, etc. So, as Dr. Srinivas has said, the travel time for tsunami wave, as can be seen from this map, maximum 3 to 4 hours time it takes if there is a tsunami in Indian Ocean, down to the district, blocks, and to the community. So the emergency operation center, running of the emergency operation center 24/7 with a responsible person who understands tsunami must be always available, so that once the information is disseminated by INCOIS without loss of time, it is shared with all concerned. Similarly, generally, the state USC corresponds to the district USC and the block USCs, and that is from those block and district level emergency operation centers, direct communication to the villages take place. We also have another system where from the state emergency operation center we can give alert sirens to all those coastal villages. We have 122 alert siren towers located in the coast. The moment we get a warning, we can immediately blow those sirens and send voice messages, loud voice messages to enable the communities to know of any warnings. And every year we do a mock drill. Through the mock drill, we release those sirens as well as the messages. This time also on October 13th, the day we were doing the mock drill in Odisha for tsunamis, we sent 3 alert sirens at 9:30, 9:45 a.m. and 10 a.m. and similarly the voice messages, and then we try to find out how the communities responded to the sirens and messages and what they did. This time, as Dr. Srinivas said, we though didn't go for a mass physical evacuation of the villages, but we did a bit of exercise at the Gram Panchayat level, at the community level, as well as block and the district level. So this dissemination of warning to the communities is very much dependent upon how alert is the state emergency operation center and the district and the block emergency operation centers, and how good is your communication facility with the villages. The way we have developed this 122 siren centers systems, maybe in future we may have to think of putting some more siren centers in the coastline. Then the moment warning is issued, how does, because through our voice message we can have the in Odisha we can tell what is the likely time in which the tsunami waves are going to hit the coastal areas and how much time people have to evacuate to safe places. So the moment we talk of evacuation, where do people evacuate, and therefore we must have pre-identified multi-purpose shelters. We have large number, about 1,000 multi-purpose shelters, of which about 850 are in coastal areas. And in those villages, those 326 villages, we have 150 odd cyclone centers. So how do we evacuate people to those shelters. That is also discussed with the communities while preparing for the tsunami plans. Then alerting the response forces, both ODRAF, NDRF, and the fire service units in the blocks. So they are alerted. Then the response force would be very well equipped with adequate search and rescue equipments, both at the fire service level, that is the block level, and at the ODRAF level. Besides, at those multi-purpose shelters, we also keep about 35-40 different types of equipments which can be utilized by the local communities in search and rescue, as well as soon as they evacuate to a shelter for the basic lighting, drafting water from the borewell, filling the tank, and for those basic things, we provide about 37 types of equipment to the shelters. But then providing equipment is not enough unless we train people to work with those 37 types of equipments, to operationalize them, to like we give a generator. Unless you have fuel available for the generator, unless the generator is in a working condition, and unless somebody knows how to start the generator and connect it to the lighting system, then the placing of a generator doesn't help in any way. Similarly, we also provide tower lights or inflatable tower lights to each of the shelters, where even if there is no electric power or the generator didn't work, at least lighting problem is taken care of. Then coming to the community. Community should also know, okay, where are those hamlets, habitations located, which are the habitations, which are the hamlets, which are the population, which are the category of people who need to be evacuated first, and where should they be evacuated, in what is the shortest way to reach out to these centers. So all those things have to be planned, and people must be people must know what path they should follow, where they should reach, and how, without much loss of time, they can reach out to a shelter. Then training and capacity building activities at various levels, starting from the state down to the district up to the community level. And I have already talked about the communication system. It is good that nowadays televisions and radios are very good. Social media is very active. Irrespective of all those things, we also should have our system of direct communication through sirens, as well as the police network must also be in readiness, because sometimes we have seen in cyclone or at the earliest opportunity, your technology-driven, internet-driven communication might fail. Power might go, TVs might not work. Therefore, we should also have our robust VHF system, which can be activated immediately. Then the other component is regular mock drills. Odisha is every year conducts one mock drill on June 19th, that is for flood and cyclones. And also we have started developing, having mock drills for tsunami in those 325 villages. We have just started the process. Unfortunately, this COVID has halted our work to a great extent. So hopefully with this COVID situation improving, we will again get back to our normal mock drills and training and capacity development programs. Then, taking all these things into account, every community at the village level must prepare a disaster management plan, so also at the block level as well as district level. We do have a disaster management plan, which the process started somewhere around 2002-03. Since then, we have village disaster management plans, but then tsunami plans will be a little more rigorous, more intensive. It would require more intense capacity development and more intense planning. Next. So, as I said, this Indian Ocean Tsunami Readiness Program, in fact, takes into account all those points which I mentioned now, and with the help of INCOIS and IoT, We have started tsunami readiness planning in 6 villages of the 6 districts, of which, as Dr. Srinivas has pointed out, 2 have been recognized by IOC UNESCO as tsunami ready communities. Then the 4 other villages are also, by now, they satisfied to the 11 parameters that has been prescribed. So now we have only 6 villages which are, we can say they are little better prepared to face tsunami disaster and reduce the impact, adverse impact of tsunami on those communities. We can't say that tsunami will not affect them, but okay, they can reduce the adverse impact to a large extent. Next. So, why we joined the tsunami readiness program? One is okay, it will help us mitigating the adverse impacts of tsunami. But if you are prepared for tsunami, then possibly you are prepared for meeting all sort of exigencies arising out of cyclones, storm surges, or any other severe coastal flooding. 1971, we had a cyclone which affected one block in coastal district, which is also a tsunami-prone block, where we lost about 10,000 lives. Similarly, in 1999 also, we lost about 10,000 human lives in Odisha. And everybody knows that that is one of the most severest cyclones to have struck India. During that 99 super cyclone, I was a young district magistrate in Cuttack. We know how difficult it was. And during that cyclone, apart from 10,000 lives, for human lives, we lost a lot of animals, a lot of houses. Nearly 2 million houses were lost. About 2 million hectares of crop was lost. Livelihoods of hundreds of thousands of people severely affected, and there was colossal damage to public and private infrastructure. That had happened because of the cyclone, and that cyclone resulted in a storm surge of 5 to 6 meters, which brought the sea water up to 35 kilometers inland in Kendrapada district. That was noticed. So basically, a cyclone can cause storm surge up to 5 to 6 meters. We have already seen it. And we have done a storm surge mapping of the Odisha coast, where we see that we will have a storm surge which can vary from about ½ meter to 8 meters. So if you are preparing for tsunami, you can as well prepare your communities to meet the storm surge related problems or the coastal flooding related problem. In fact, community-based disaster risk management program of UNDP started post-super cyclone, and in Odisha we had prepared disaster management plans to 23,615 villages, and we had trained thousands of community volunteers on during this preparation of the village disaster management plans in search and rescue skills, in shelter management skills, as well as in first aid skills. Currently, we are revising the village disaster management plans again, as well as we are also preparing village disaster management plans in the rest of the villages of Odisha. Around 48,000 villages will prepare disaster management plans. So this is where we found that this IOTR, the 11 parameters, which I will explain next slide. These 11 parameters, if we take those things and prepare the village disaster management plans, and run a capacity development plan for the communities, and possibly all of the problems that we are encountering on account of cyclone and coastal flooding storms will also be taken care of. So this is the value that we see in the tsunami readiness program. Next. So these are the 11 parameters which are considered in the Indian Ocean Tsunami Readiness program. One is how to develop communities that can reduce the tsunami risks. So tsunami risk reduction plan for the community has to be is one of the things. Then while preparing the plan, we need to take a lot of technical inputs, and in fact, INCOIS ISRO as well as our State Space Application Center, ORSAT, they are helping us to understand close contour maps of these villages, prepare and to understand what are the areas which will be affected if your tsunami waves reach a particular height. So depending upon the tsunami wave heights, the areas that will be impacted is to be mapped and that must be known to the community. So inundation zones are to be identified with the help of the communities taking the technical inputs. And then preparing the community, putting all those information readily available in the forms of display boards so that people know, okay, if it is 1.5 meter, which are the areas of the villages which will be affected and which are the areas which from where evacuation has to take place. If it is 3 meter, what are the additional areas from where evacuation will take place? And if it is 3 meter, where do the people sit? To which cyclone center people should sit? So all those things must be displayed in a public space in the villages, in few important public spaces in the villages. Then producing tsunami maps, tsunami literatures, awareness materials in the communities and training them on those points. Develop and distribute outreach and publication, public education materials so that people know how to detect a tsunami, like that the Thai girl, that story is so powerful, or the Japanese story which all of us speak. Maybe there will be gradually we can enrich the knowledge of the communities through indigenous knowledges as well as whatever knowledge is available in the world, which can be shared with them to understand the moment there is a tsunami. And second is the moment we issue a siren or a warning, what do people make out of those warnings and how those warnings be translated into evacuation and search and rescue plans. So that doing this capacity outreach program once in a while doesn't help. It has to be regularly done. And under this program, it is the minimum requirement is 3 outreach programs annually. So what we are doing, quarterly we do one, except in those July, August, September, those 3 rainy months. So 3 quarterly tsunami readiness event in the villages where mock drills are done, where re-looking at the plan and discussing various facets of tsunami warning, management, everything is discussed with the communities. And then, of course, the annual mock drill, which we do in October. This time we couldn't do it, but we hope that next year onwards again we will do full-scale tsunami mock drills in all those coastal villages. And then the last 4 parameters regarding response: preparing the community's emergency operation center, creating a band of volunteers who can work for those emergency operations plans, and then developing the village, state, district and block emergency operation centers. And such emergency operation center at the block level must have the telephone numbers of important people, the community volunteers who can immediately swing into action. Then developing a redundant and reliable means for 24 hours warning point. That is the most crucial thing. Though we have alert sirens 122, still there are challenges of maintaining 24/7, 365 days internet connectivity. So that is one area where we need to further improve. And then ensuring that the block and the district level emergency operation center, because the state level operation center is quite in a good place where 24/7 operation is being done, but sometimes at the block level this needs to be again further strengthened. So these are the 11 parameters in which this Indian Ocean Tsunami Readiness Program is based, and that is how a community and the state is judged. Next. So we have, as I said, these are the things we do: disaster management plan at the state level tsunami plan, district level plan, and then village level plan is prepared, then annual training for the communities, for the elected representatives, for the block level functionaries and district level functionaries, that is important. And then a fixed day mock drill across all those 325 villages in the state with participation of NDRF, ODRA, fire services, local police station, local gram panchayats and elected representatives, and block and district administration. So that is what we had done, in fact, in last year, but this year, because of this COVID, we couldn't do it. Next. So these are some of the maps that are prepared in the villages and put in public display. That is inundation zones. Next. This is how the tsunami-related information and awareness materials are displayed in public places in the villages. Then tsunami evacuation map that is prepared, printed, and displayed in prominent public places of the villages. Next. Then these are the leaflets on tsunami awareness, tsunami signatures, preparedness, and what actions villages have to take. All those things in local Odia language have been developed and distributed, and we have used these things during trainings in the communities. This is another banner that has been displayed in the put in villages. Safety posters, and then a lot of material is available in the NDMA website. NDMA, in fact, has developed a lot of materials which needs to be translated into local language and can be used as excellent communication materials, training materials. And those videos are available also that we are using during training, and that should be very regularly shown to the people. So this is one area where a lot more work is required to be done. Next. So this is our outreach programs that we do. We ODRAF, NDRF, fire service, local police station, local administration, all participate along with the villagers in all our outreach programs. These are the annual tsunami community exercise that we had done in various years. Then it culminates in a plan, and that plan is just not a few pages of papers in a booklet form, but that plan needs to be understood by everybody in the village. That is where the challenge lies. It is not about preparing the plan, but regularly revisiting the plan, and people must know what is there in the plan. So that is an area which needs to be regularly done, and in fact, this plan is the basis for this quarterly outreach programs. Next. And then emergency operations center at the block, district and the state level, that is always alert. Next. Next is from the state we issue warning to the district as well as to the villages from our emergency operations center. From a central command here we issue alerts, and those alert sirens blow in 122 locations covering almost the entire coast, but the reach is about 1.5 kilometers. So maybe in future we have to improve this warning radius. That is the early warning dissemination last mile connectivity that we have put, but then this requires redundant internet connectivity, and maybe further robust communication systems have to be developed in future. We are grateful that UNESCO ISC has recognized two of our villages, one in Ganjam district, that is Venkatraipur, and one in Jagatsinghpur district, that is in Odia side. These are the two villages which have been recognized as tsunami ready communities. 4 more are, in our judgment, have satisfied the conditionalities of UNESCO IOC to be recognized as tsunami ready communities. And then we have a program, a very detailed elaborate program to make all the 325 villages tsunami ready by next year, November 5th. So in 1 year's time, rest of the 25 villages will be made tsunami ready as per the protocols of INCOIS. So this is what we intend to do, is that all the villages within the 1.5 kilometer zone from the coast first have to be made tsunami ready villages, ready communities. Then gradually we'll come to 5 kilometer radius. May not be affected by tsunami, but what we have seen, a large scale tsunami or a storm surge, we have seen its impact up to 7, 8, 9 kilometers from the coastline. So therefore, next phase, we plan to take the same tsunami readiness program from 1.5 kilometers from the coastline to 5 kilometers from the coastline. And we will develop adequate training programs for all concerned, right from the state down up to the villages. And particularly schools assume a very important role. So the tsunami readiness program for schools we are working on, will organize training programs for the teachers. We will run half a day programs in schools to tell children about tsunami. They only read it in books at the standard 8th, 9th level, but explaining them about tsunami and then utilizing these children to make aware the communities to their parents would be one of the areas which we are looking at. So this is basically what we are doing. Basically, it is tsunami readiness program is nothing but whatever CBDR we had taken up since 2003 onwards. It is a notch higher than that. It is little more intensive. It is little rigorous, and a lot of training program and awareness program is built into this program. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for detailed presentation on the tsunami preparedness and implementation of tsunami ready in Odisha state. So I understand that Odisha is moving towards like multi-hazard early warning approach, as we know that Odisha is prone to more prone to the storm surges, being the coastal state where we have more cyclones making landfall in Odisha. So I think the infrastructure and the plans that we have made, I think they will help for mitigating these oceanogenic disasters. So once again, I thank you for all your kind support for implementation of Tsunami Ready program. And now we are moving towards the third talk by respected Member Secretary, Shri GVV Sharma sir. So may I introduce briefly, Shri GVV Sharma is Member Secretary to the National Disaster Management Authority, Government of India. He obtained Master's degree in Physics. He has joined Indian Administrative Service in 1986, and he discharged duties in various assignments in Nagaland initially and Odisha later. As mentioned by Jana Saab, he was also associated with Odisha State Disaster Management Authority. He also served as various positions as collector and a district magistrate and worked in different sectors, including MSME, ST and SC development, land administration, women and child development, and education. He also worked in National Institute of Rural Development during 2000 and 2005 and Ministry of Home Affairs during 2010 to 2015. He also served as the Member Secretary to the task force constituted by Government of India for review of Disaster Management Act 2005. He had the opportunity to work during super cyclone of 1999 in Odisha and the coordination tasks related to floods of 2013 in Uttarakhand, Phylline cyclone of 2013, and Hudhud cyclone of 2014, and floods in Jammu and Kashmir in 2014. So this is all about brief introduction about Sharma. May I now request respected Member Secretary to deliver the talk on tsunami preparedness in India. Sir.
Good morning, Dr. Srinivas, Mr. Pradeep Jana, Mr. Patadhi, Dr. Pawan Kumar Singh, other distinguished invitees and participants. I am very happy to be participating on this important day to promote awareness on tsunami. As the previous speakers have mentioned, tsunamis are low frequency events, but as we saw from the events of the last week of 2004, these events can become extremely high in terms of intensity and impact, and they can take a huge human lives as well as property toll. Coastal communities, often concentrated in low-lying and highly populous areas, are mostly vulnerable potentially to these hazards, and therefore tsunamis and cyclones cause immense risk to the people living in the coastal communities. International cooperation is very important for proper diversion, proper deployment of scientific and technological resources. And I am very happy to note that ever since it has been formed, INCOIS has been discharging this responsibility in a very efficient and systematic manner. I had an opportunity to visit INCOIS a few years ago, but from those days till now, much more advances have happened in INCOIS. And as we can see, the accuracy and the level of predictions and the forecasts are improving very systematically. 5th of November was designated as the World Tsunami Awareness Day by the United Nations General Assembly in December 2015 through a resolution. And as Dr. Srinivas has mentioned, the United Nations has chosen this day in order to celebrate the heroic contribution of the Japanese farmer, Mr. Hamaguchi Goryo, who in the year 1854 has set fire to his entire paddy produce in order to warn the people of the impending tsunami. Thereby, he saved many lives at great personal cost. In India, the first event commemorating the World Tsunami Awareness Day started with 2016, when the Asian Ministerial Conference on Disaster Risk Reduction happened in New Delhi, where all the ministers of the Asian region have gathered, and we have observed the World Tsunami Awareness Day ever since that 2016, and generally we have been having different activities on this day. One is an open day for Tsunami Warning Center for the school children and public, and then competitions for the school children on tsunami science models exhibition, drawing, essay writing, etc. Then showing tsunami awareness movies, distribution of flyers on Tsunami Awareness Day, and lectures by eminent scientists. But this year, due to the COVID reasons, we have been constrained to take up this activity through this webinar and limit the activities. But nevertheless, it is very important that all of us have gathered together and trying to understand what lies ahead in terms of moving towards better preparedness on tsunami. In 2020, the World Tsunami Awareness Day, the objective is to promote Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction, Target E, that is, substantially increase the number of countries with national and local disaster risk reduction strategies. So this fits in line with this objective of the Sendai Framework. And as you know, in India, we already have a National Disaster Management Plan, which was updated in the year 2019. And in conformity with the National Disaster Management Plan, different state governments are already updating their state disaster management plans, and it is required that it has to be done in a holistic manner, in an inclusive manner, taking into consideration the requirements of different categories of vulnerable people, including specific hazard vulnerability, addressing those issues. As far as tsunami early warning is concerned, the scientific advances of INCOIS are well known, but what is extremely important is how to take forward the output of these agencies, output of the scientific agencies as input by the disaster management authorities at the state level and take up activities at the district level and the village level in a very time-bound manner. as Dr. Srinivas and Pradeep Jana has explained, it is extremely that we understand that the lead time available in case of tsunami is very short, it is very brief. It is not like a cyclone or not like a flood. Therefore, we have to, while we of course have to have the FCOCs operated by trained manpower 24/7, at the same time, we also have to move towards systems of dissemination of warnings without much of human interface. So in this regard, NDMA has been attempting a common alerting protocol system, which we have done a pilot test in Tamil Nadu state. We have found it reasonably good, and now we are planning to implement by upscaling it to the whole of the country. The idea is that whether somebody watches in the control room or not, in an automatic manner, the alert will have to be disseminated, preferably in the local language, to the areas where it is required to be sent. And that can happen through a multi-mode manner, not only through cell broadcasting or through SMS messages, but it shall also go through various other means, including, people in the railway station should get messages through the railway network. Similarly, people traveling along the roads in the national highways should get warnings at the different toll gates. Similarly, people who are in the fish drying zones, they should get warning through fish warning, fishermen's warning. Like that, through a number of means, people who are watching television, the television program will be interrupted briefly, and this important announcement will come, and this will happen automatically without human interface. So therefore, this common alerting protocol will be an extremely important step in the direction of dissemination of the information. I'm very happy that so far, NDMA has brought out 31 national guidelines on different aspects of disasters, including various hazards as well as cross-cutting issues. But these guidelines are actually meant to be implemented. And in the implementation of these guidelines, the role of the state governments and the union territories governments becomes extremely important. I'm very happy to see that Odisha has been taking pioneering steps in terms of general disaster preparedness, but also in particular with reference to tsunami awareness. The two villages, Venkatraipur in Ganjam district and Nolia Sahi in Jagatsinghpur district, have been declared as tsunami ready officially, and a large number of other villages also. The steps are in the right direction. It is also very heartening to see the steps indicated by Mr. Pradeep Jana in his speech, where the steps at the village level in terms of involving the communities in the preparation of a holistic disaster management plan at the village level, with particular reference to tsunami. This is extremely commendable, and it can be a good role model for other coastal states. I would also like to mention that the tsunami preparedness, the tsunami ready concept is extremely good because it helps in active collaboration of the public, the community leaders, the elected Panchayat Raj representatives, the national and local emergency management agencies. Therefore, this example of tsunami ready, which has been brought in very effectively by Odisha government, should also be explored by other coastal states. And I would suggest and I would encourage other coastal states to visit Odisha as and when the COVID situation improves, of course, and to learn for themselves on what kind of IEC mechanism, what kind of outreach programs are actually happening in Odisha. And I'm also happy to see that Odisha is using the assets created under the National Cyclone Risk Mitigation Program for effective strengthening of the tsunami warning. Therefore, in terms of dissemination of information, while the basic early warning is being provided by INCOIS, the taking it to the last mile and the last mile connectivity through dissemination is equally challenging, because the greatest scientific advances by INCOIS and other scientific and technological organizations will have to be properly used for the welfare of the human community, and that can only happen by last mile connectivity. Therefore, it is very, very important that the last mile connectivity and the involvement of the community is carried very systematically. And I would also like to mention that what is important is not at the senior level, not at the MD level or State Disaster Management Authority level. The awareness and the knowledge and the skill set at that level is extremely known. That is not to be questioned. But what is important and what is the real challenge is that down the below, along the hierarchy, people in the hierarchy, both the officials as well as non-officials, should understand their roles clearly, and each one of them should be able to understand how exactly this Tsunami Ready program will help and how, in general, community-based disaster risk reduction programs will happen. Therefore, we should move really from the earlier traditional system of dealing with a disaster when it happens. From that mode, we have to go to a system-based approach, a planning-based approach, where the disaster risk is properly identified and the risk is tackled well before the incident actually happens. Therefore, I take that this World Tsunami Awareness Day gives us an opportunity for all of us to reflect our own role as well as the role of other stakeholders, so that through teamwork and by improved and integrated coordination among all the stakeholders, all of us can come together and really help our communities in terms of enhancing their preparedness. I once again thank INCOIS for having given me this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for this very informative talk and briefly giving information on the NDMA initiatives, particularly the Common Alert Protocol initiative by NDMA. Definitely, I think it's going to help and enhance the preparedness for mitigating these disasters. And also thank you, sir, for asking all other coastal states for implementation of Indian Ocean Tsunami Ready program, taking Orissa state as a role model. And we assure from INCOIS, we assure that whatever capacity building programs that are required for implementation of training, for implementation of the Tsunami Ready program, with regard to like implementation of various indicators. So INCOIS is ready to provide training to the coastal states, and I hope we will come up with programs. And thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for your talk on tsunami preparedness in India and the initiatives of NDMA. So now we have a few questions coming from the participants. As I mentioned, we have about 180 participants joined this YouTube live streaming, and they're officials from disaster management agencies of the coastal states, and also we have several scientific agencies attending this webinar through YouTube. So we have few questions. First, a couple of questions to Dr. Srinivas Kumar, Director INCOIS. The first question is, what are the natural signs of tsunami?
Okay, thank you for the question. See, you can, so there are a few natural signs of a tsunami. You can feel the tsunami, you can see the tsunami, you can hear the tsunami. So in simple terms, let us remember that we can feel, see, hear. So first thing is you can, if you feel means if you feel a strong earthquake, if you feel the ground shaking, then you know that an earthquake has happened. So you have to, so this is something which you have to remember. If you feel a ground shaking severely, or if it is strong, if it is a long shaking, then you should be aware that this is because of a large earthquake, especially if you're in the coastal areas, then a tsunami might follow. I'll give a small example in the case of New Zealand. In New Zealand, till recently, even now, the tagline for public to be aware for tsunamis is actually, it's simple: long or strong, get gone. That means if you feel a long earthquake or a strong earthquake, then just get gone. So that means first thing, feel the ground shake. Second thing is sea. Sea is especially if you're in a beach and then if a tsunami is approaching, in many coastlines, the water may recede from the coast. It's not that it will happen in all places. In some places, the first wave itself might actually come on shore, in which case you cannot really see it, but you can really see a wall of water coming, right? So either you see a wall of water or you see the ground is receding, the shore is receding, exposing a lot of the coastline which you would generally not see. Then that means that it is unusual, then it could lead to a tsunami. Other thing is here. Here is actually sometimes there are a lot of reports that when a huge tsunami is approaching as a wall of water, it could create a loud roaring sound, similar to that of a train or a jet or an aircraft. If you're in the sea and then there is a wall of water, or if you hear that there is an unusual sound like a loud roaring, then you know that it might be a signal of a tsunami. So please remember this: feel, see, and hear. If any of these things happen, it's actually always good to be safe. Try to be safe. Evacuate to high ground without panicking. Of course, you might receive a warning or there might be a siren, but you don't need to wait for these things. If you encounter any of these things, you could actually leave to high ground.
The second question to you is on whether tsunami effect on the river system, whether these communities on the river banks, they get affected by the tsunamis.
Okay, so this depends on, sometimes the tsunamis, they actually can travel up the backwaters and channels, especially say, for example, bays, enclosed bays, they can actually amplify the tsunami wave. So all the coastal low-lying areas, it depends on the magnitude of the tsunami. If the tsunami is very high, actually it can travel up into the coast. It will actually still impact the coastal, bays and harbors.
Thank you, Srinivas. I think you mentioned about the Greece earthquake and the tsunami. I think there is another question. How was the recent tsunami? How was the warning this time? I think that is linked to your the previous answer. Probably you can add more.
Okay, so the agency tsunami, it happened in the Mediterranean. So the Mediterranean basin, it's a small basin with several countries, or most of the European countries. And there are 5 warning systems, centers, like INCOIS is the warning center for India and the Indian Ocean region, for example, along with Australia and Indonesia. Similarly, in the Mediterranean, there are 5 warning centers operating out of, there's one in Turkey, Israel, Portugal, Greece, and France. And this earthquake, it was actually in the border of Greece and Turkey. So both these warning systems issued warnings, earthquake and tsunami alerts for this particular tsunami, for this particular event. They issued tsunami advisories, but this system, again, it was a very near source event, this event, earthquake itself. So it caused a minor tsunami. It was not very significant. It's not that the tsunami caused a lot of fatalities. The fatalities were mostly due to the earthquake itself. About 100 odd people who actually died in Turkey and Greece due to the earthquake. But these two warning centers of these countries, respective countries, issued tsunami alerts to their coastal regions. But the tsunami itself was very near source, and then it was not very significant, but it actually did generate a tsunami, and that came ashore, as you would have seen in a lot of videos.
Thank you, Srinivas. I think,
and of course, just to add, of course, because INCOIS also monitors global earthquakes. INCOIS itself has, because it's a magnitude 7 event, we identified this event within less than about 8 minutes and issued a no threat to the to India or to the Indian Ocean region from this particular earthquake, as far as INCOIS is concerned. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Srinivas. I think the next question is to Janasab. The question is, please brief on the emergency equipments available at ODRAF and shelters.
Good morning. Actually, Managing Director, who was just urgently needed by Chief Secretary. So I seek permission to respond to the question. I am Executive Director Kamal Misra of OSDMA. Odisha Disaster Rapid Action Force, they have been provided with about 100 different types of equipment. That equipment is divided into 6-7 categories of disaster, like relief line clearance, collapse structure search and rescue, medical fast responder, boat rescue, flood operations, underwater diving, and miscellaneous type of response equipment, where different types of accident recovery and response activities can be taken up. So out of these 100 type of equipment, mostly the most important are different types of chainsaws, which are used for cutting trees to clear the roads, relief lines. Then we have recovery vans and wreckage cranes. We have inflatable tower lights to provide lighting in the flood and cyclone affected areas where power cut is there. Then we have different types of hydraulic equipment like hydraulic ram jacks, lifting equipment, and hydraulic cutting tools, combi tools, etc. And we have different types of boats also, inflatable rubber boats with different power units, and outboard motors with different power. And we have also the major equipment in diving. Underwater salvage and recovery operations are needed to be carried out in different locations, especially in drowning cases. So there are 100 different types of equipment we have provided to almost each of the OTRAF units. And coming to the cyclone shelter management and maintenance committees, we have provided them with 27 types of equipment, which includes different types of ropes for rescue operations, ladders, then inflatable tower light, as well as chainsaws. So this type of equipment we have also provided to the cyclone shelter management and maintenance committees.
Thank you, Kamalji. And we have only one suggestion that they were asking, there are some restrictions on YouTube, probably some suggestion that we should use WebEx or other mode for webinars. Definitely, we have noted down this suggestion, and we'll act accordingly in future. And another point that whether the literature related to tsunami will be available. Yeah, this question myself I'll answer. We have made available the literature related to tsunami preparedness, awareness, and on INCOIS website. Definitely we'll post that one, other link on the YouTube channel, as well as if you can visit to INCOIS website, you will find this. And further to that, as part of this World Tsunami Awareness Day, we have every year we used to generate some sort of flyers. So we have this year also we have developed a flyer, and it is posted on the social media. You can see what is tsunami, what to be done when there is a tsunami. So what are all the actions to be taken. So all this information is available on this flyer. So now with this, we come to end of these talks, and we are well within the time. So all the speakers have limited their talks to the time. And now it is time for proposing the vote of thanks. So this is again myself, I'll take this. So it's my privilege and honor to propose a vote of thanks on this occasion. So at the outset, I would like to extend my sincere thanks to Sri Sharmaji, Member Secretary NDMA, for kindly accepting our invitation to deliver the talk in spite of his busy schedule at NDMA. The support extended by NDMA to INCOIS in organizing capacity building programs and tsunami mock drills is very crucial in promoting the tsunami awareness and preparedness with all the stakeholders. Thank you very much, sir, for all your kind support to INCOIS, as well as bringing together the disaster management officials that INCOIS is taking up various initiatives in enhancing the awareness and preparedness. So I take this opportunity to thank Sri Pradeep Janaji, Managing Director OSDMA, for kindly agreeing to deliver talk on this occasion. As mentioned, OSDMA is always in the forefront to take up these new initiatives and adopting the latest developments and technology in disaster management. And INCOIS has been closely working with OSDMA in implementing various activities, more in implementing Tsunami Ready. And we look forward for many more communities to adopt Tsunami Ready concept from Odisha and inspire other coastal states to implement the program, thereby promoting the awareness and preparedness on tsunamis, which is the main objective of this Tsunami Awareness Day. And I extend my sincere thanks to Dr. Srinivas Kumar, Director INCOIS, for his support in organizing this webinar. His able guidance has always encouraged us to take up new initiatives with the stakeholders. I would like to extend thanks to my colleagues at Indian Tsunami Early Warning Center for all their support. And my special thanks to Mr. Ajay, Mr. Padmanabham, Sunanda from INCOIS, Dr. Pawan Kumar Singh from NDMA, Dr. Kamalochan Mishra and Dr. BN Mishra from OSDMA for all the support that they have extended for organizing this webinar. Last but not the least, thanks to all the participants from various agencies as well as public for joining this webinar and also giving suggestions for a future course of action. So once again, I thank all those who involved directly or indirectly in organizing this webinar. Thank you, one and all. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. With this, we conclude this session. Thank you very much.
Thank you.